Good evening, wrestling fans. Welcome to episode 4 of the Real Wrestling Fan Podcast, also known as the MetsFan884 podcast. Another week in wrestling has come and gone. These weeks have been going fast since this pandemic started. I hope you're practicing social distancing. Hope you're practicing being nicer to each other, which I wish we can practice on Twitter, but apparently seems like some people can, some people can't. Anyway, another week is completed. Another SmackDown is over. Another podcast has came. First, I'm going to start tonight's podcast by offering out my apologies to anybody I've may have hurt either currently, presently, or in the past on Twitter. I'm trying to get back in the good graces of the IWC, and it seems like some members of the IWC can't forget what I've done in the past. So those who can't forget, okay. For those who can forgive me, okay. But I'm offering my sincerest apologies, okay? I'm trying to be a better person. Anyway, SmackDown's just ended. Otis Dulcevich is the last man in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match coming up at Money in the Bank next Sunday in 9 days from right now. That means that all we have to worry about now, coming up this Monday night on Raw, is the gauntlet match to decide the final men's Money in the Bank ladder match from the Raw side. And to whoever said that they were going to do the Money in the Bank ladder matches at the same time, you're right. I just found it out tonight, and I'm shocked they're going to do it that way. Apparently, the men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder matches will be done at the same time. I thought they were going to do them back to back, but they're doing it at the same time. One match, 2 Money in the Bank briefcases. Superstars will start at the ground floor of WWE headquarters and wrestle their way all the way up to the top of WWE headquarters on the roof. And apparently I think the briefcase is going to be hanging from probably like one of the flagpoles. That's going to be a high way up. Hope nobody in this match has height-phobia. I do. I would not be able to do this match. Your boy got a problem with heights. Probably why I only grew as tall as 5'4". I don't like heights. Anyway, tonight, tonight, Baron Corbin defeated Daniel Bryan. Next week, it will be Baron Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro against Daniel Bryan, Drew Gulak, and a mystery partner. That ought to be great. Braun Strowman will be face-to-face with the Fiend Bray Wyatt. I don't know if it's going to be the Fiend Bray Wyatt or just Bray Wyatt. We'll find out next week. And a tag team match was made by Aaron Pierce, Fox executive, between Sasha Banks and Bayley and Tamina and Lacey Evans. Now, me personally, when it comes to Lacey Evans and Tamina, those are my 2 picks to win next week in the SmackDown Women's Championship and the SmackDown Women's in the Women's Money in the Bank match. But a little part of me would also like to see those 2 possibly become like a permanent tag team and probably win the women's tag team titles, because it seems like WWE has been trying to mesh Lacey Evans with a partner and probably make her run for the tag titles. I would be perfectly okay as a Lacey Evans fan to see her as the tag team champions. Perfectly okay. Perfectly directly okay. But I think if WWE wants to do this the right way next week, they would use this match as a stepping stone to further the Bayley-Sasha Banks problems heading to their upcoming feud soon. Now, when it comes to the Money in the Bank, I've said this before already. I would be happy if Lacey wins Money in the Bank, but a lot of people think if she wins it, she's probably going to cash in the same night. The only way I see that happening is if Bayley defeats Tamina. Tamina wins the title, I don't see it happening. Anyway, on the men's side, Otis Dulcevich defeated Dolph Ziggler tonight, and Carmella defeated Mandy Rose. That's right, Mandy Rose. And my feelings about that match was Sonya Deville has got to be the most jealous human being on the planet. And it surprises me that many people in the wrestling community is defending Sonya Deville on this whole Sonya versus Mandy rivalry. I have never heard somebody so jealous before in my life. Ever. The stuff she was yelling tonight just yells jealous. Like, come on. It hurts me as a wrestling fan to watch this relationship deteriorate the way it did. But like somebody said on Twitter tonight, this feud has been awesome. But it just saddens me to see it had to come to this after years of friendship. To only see the Mandy's donuts split down the middle. Kind of hurts. Really kind of hurts. Because I'm so used to seeing these two as a team. WWE has a habit of splitting up teams. They either do good things with them or they do bad things with them. Look at the Riot Squad. Only member of the Riot Squad they're doing anything productive with is Liv Morgan. People want to see her versus Becky Lynch. To those people, I say that would be awesome, but we all know Vince McMahon. He gives it to us. He's gonna shit the bed somehow and make it something we don't want. I've learned dealing with WWE the last 25 years and dealing with Vince McMahon. Whatever we want, just let him give it to us when he gives it to us. Because we keep asking for it, he's going to make it like the women's tag team titles. We asked for the women's tag team titles. He came up with the women's tag team titles. And those titles are now been a running punchline and a non-funny joke. He isn't even treating the women's tag team titles like they mean anything. Last week's match proves that. Anyway, also tonight, the Forgotten Sons defeated the New Day, probably putting them in place for a tag team title match in the future. I don't know about you. I found the match enjoyable. I just wish I could mute my TV. Because Miz and Morrison were on commentary. I'm sorry. But I gotta use a little bit of this podcast to express my personal feelings about The Miz. I love The Miz. Okay? One of my favorite WWE superstars of all time. But the guy has become a joke. This is a guy who's won every championship in WWE. He's done everything. Intercontinental Champion, Tag Champion, United States Champion, WWE Champion. Won at WrestleMania. Money in the Bank winner. Now what? You got the guy in a 2010 running punchline joke of a tag team with a not funny joke, with a not funny joke. This guy should be Universal Champion. If anything, it should be him versus Braun at Money in the Bank, not Bray. Or he should be next in line at the Bray. Now you got this guy in a 10-year-old tag team that still call themselves the greatest tag team of the 21st century. Note the Miz and Morrison. The 21st century has been over now for a year and a half. And John Morrison, well, y'all already know how I feel about that guy. Y'all already know. I don't have to tell you how I feel about John Morrison. Terrific superstar. This guy should be WWE champion. But it seems like they just brought him back to stick him in a tag team. It's kind of sad. Now, people are probably mad, they're probably still mad right now at the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, for what he said about Sasha Banks. Now, Mark said on Twitter that he was talking about somebody else. To that, I say, whoever you want to believe it. I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not one of those people who's going to come on here and say my personal feelings about a wrestler. Because it's wrestling. It's a sport. Personal feelings should not be involved in a sport that is scripted. But anybody out there who thinks Sasha Banks is ugly, you obviously need your eyes checked because the woman is gorgeous. If you still go by looks when it comes to female wrestlers, you need serious psychological help. This is 2020. We don't go by looks anymore. We go by what they can do between the 20 by 20 ring. And Sasha Banks is without a doubt one of the greatest female athletes to come across WWE in a long time. The fact that she's not SmackDown Women's Champion right now is a crime. And the fact that we have to wait until SummerSlam for it to happen, in my opinion, is an even bigger crime. Here's what I see happening next week. In the tag match with Sasha Bailey versus Lacey and Tamina, I see somehow WWE using this to drive a wedge further between Sasha and Bailey. If we know WWE the way we know WWE, and we know WWE because so of us who's been watching it for 20, 25, 30, 45 years, the champion's going to get pinned next week. Most likely Tamina's going to pin Bailey. I don't know if that's going to expand into her winning the title at Money in the Bank, because usually whoever pins the champion the last event before the pay-per-view usually doesn't pin the champion at the pay-per-view. About 9 times out of 10 that's happened. About 9 times out of 10 the champion gets pinned on the SmackDown or Raw before the pay-per-view, and at the pay-per-view they win. But this is Money in the Bank. Depending on the order of the matches, Bailey could win against Tamina next week and get cashed in on. We don't know. We don't know. Like, say Bailey wins against Tamina and then Lacey wins Money in the Bank. Then Lacey could pick to cash in against Bailey that night, and then what? Bailey gets basically what she did to Charlotte last year back in her face. But then there'll be a lot of people on Twitter are probably mad that WWE ruined their Sasha versus Bailey match at SummerSlam. On that subject, I'm going to say this. The same thing I think a lot of people have already said on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, on social media, period. Bailey versus Sasha at SummerSlam is going to be an awesome match. That match should not need the women's championship. Just my opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, is on you. But I think Sasha Banks and Bailey are talented enough, are skilled enough, are tremendous athletes enough to pull off a great rivalry without it being for the SmackDown Women's Championship. The SmackDown Women's Championship at this point would just be like a accurate on the top of an already epic rivalry, because we should have gotten Sasha versus Bailey 2 years ago. But WWE pooped the bed on that and gave us that whole Dr. Shelby thing. And it basically ruined the whole thing. This is not the first time WWE's given us something good and then taken it away. They've done it over the years for the last 25, 30, somewhere. I don't know how long you people out there have been watching WWE. But they've been doing it every year. Also on AEW Dynamite, their TNT Championship tournament continued. A couple of people advanced. I really wasn't paying attention. I already said it on the podcast already. I don't pay attention to AEW unless Britt Baker's on. Sorry. Apologies. Next week on NXT, Killer Cross, and Scarlett Bordeaux. Or Brodux, I don't know how you say her second name. Debut. That's going to be huge. Keith Lee retained the NXT North American Championship against Damian Priest. That was huge. That was gigantic. Found out, if you read a report that they released, I don't know if you guys go by reports. I try not to believe them. But they're saying that the upcoming NXT events, the upcoming NXT tapings, will be done by a commentary team of Beth Phoenix and Mauro Ranallo. But Beth and Mauro will be doing a commentary from their homes. I don't know how WWE is going to do that. That's going to be a little weird. How you do commentary from your house? Kind of weird. It's going to be weird. It's going to be... This whole month of May is just going to be like one blur of weird. But it's going to be interesting to see. I want to see how WWE is going to put the Money in the Bank contract on the roof. That's going to be interesting to see too. Let me take some time out of this podcast to talk about what I've been dealing with on Twitter. I know a lot of you on Twitter don't like me. I'm okay with that. But the account I have right now is professionally for promotion of this podcast. So I would appreciate whoever on Twitter who hates me, if you see this video, know that I'm sorry that I make you hate me so much. And please try not to report my account. I'm going to not give y'all a reason to report my account, because I'm trying to keep this account up for promotion of this podcast. And if I'm going to send a copy of this podcast to Eric Bischoff, who I follow on Twitter, who follows me on Twitter. And I hope he can promote my podcast on his podcast, because I would like to get this podcast promoted. So if you can promote my podcast, it would be appreciated. I'm just getting this podcast off the ground. I was thinking about doing this podcast on Facebook. I'll probably do the one I do next week on Facebook, because YouTube likes to add mad gigs to your phone for doing these videos. I'm hoping if I can find some way to hook up my camera with anybody else's camera, talk to other wrestling fans out there. Probably talk to some wrestlers if I can. I know I'm going to send this out to Lacey Evans. I know Lacey probably has a lot of things on her plate, but if you can connect with me on Instagram and probably be a guest on my podcast, it would be appreciated. You probably don't know me. You probably don't remember me, Lacey, but this is MetsFan884. The same MetsFan884 you follow. I'm hoping to someday have some bigger names on this podcast, because just me is getting kind of dull. I know y'all are going to seeing this face every week. You want to see some other faces. But I also want to see a lot of you, hopefully, someday, at some point, can forget all the stuff I did in my past. Let it go. Realize that I'm sorry for whatever I did in the past. And let's just be wrestling fans like we're supposed to be. So all this beefing back and forth ain't helping me, ain't helping y'all, ain't helping nobody. It's just beefing back and forth for no reason. Life is too short with this coronavirus and epidemic going around for us to be fighting amongst ourselves about who has different wrestling opinions or stuff I said on Twitter a long time ago that I've already taken back. I know once it's on social media, you can't take it back, but yeah, if you're mature and adult enough, you can let it go. If you want to carry it like a child, then don't do it on my dime, because I don't have time for it. I'm trying to live my best life. I'm trying to stay positive. If you can't forgive me for something I've done, block me. That's simple. Because it's really getting tiring on Twitter, back and forth with people who don't like me because stuff I said on accounts I made 6, 7, 8 years ago. To at WWE Real One. If you see this podcast, I don't know if you're going to see it, but somebody's probably going to send it to you. I'm sorry I got you in trouble. I'm sorry I got you into this whole crap because some moron has to make a parody account of me. Whoever that person is, you obviously have no life, and you're obviously obsessed with me somehow. You keep making this account. But I've done said I'm sorry a lot already. And I'm going to keep saying it until someday I get forgiven. I don't know where my status is with the wrestling community on Twitter right now. I don't know if I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I don't know if I'm even in, or I'm what. Everybody on Twitter thinking I'm a bad guy. I don't think I would have gotten anywhere near 800 followers if I was a bad guy. I have not said not one offensive thing on Twitter since I've been on Twitter since February. I'm beginning to not even spend that much time on Twitter anymore. Matter of fact, if this podcast or I post it, I'm basically going to put my account on private and just not even be on Twitter that much. Because it seems like I stay out of trouble more on Twitter when my account's on private than when my account's public. Oh yeah, to Trish Stratus, if you see this podcast, you followed me on one of my old accounts. I can't get into that account because I lost the password. Can you please follow this one? It's at MetsFan884. The Real Britt Baker. Can you please follow me? To whoever want to follow me and talk about wrestling, follow me. MetsFan884 on Twitter. You need my Facebook? I'm not going to give you my Facebook out loud. I'm going to do it on DM. You need my Instagram? I'll give it to you on DM. But I'm really trying to live my best life right now. It is too short right now. You know what's going to happen the next second. To be beefing over old stuff that happened 10, 15 mad years ago. Or something I said on an account that's already suspended. I said I was sorry. I don't know how many more times I can say it. I don't know how more sincere I can say it. It's starting to make Twitter really unbearable to us wrestling fans. That you got wrestling fans out here who want to do stupid crap like bullying people on Twitter. It's not fun. Okay, so can we please go back to a united wrestling front on Twitter and act like we're wrestling fans, not like we're in 3rd grade and we gotta prove to each other who's the biggest fan of who. I got this reputation on Twitter as the Lacey fan. Like I don't have other favorite wrestlers. I think I'm proving tonight by the shirt and the collecting of shirts I got in my closet that Lacey Evans is not the only wrestler I like. It gets really tiring. I gotta keep explaining myself like this on every podcast I do. I did the no wrestling. I forgot what the name of it was. One of those podcasts on Twitter explaining myself, and I still don't get forgiven. I am at the point where whoever doesn't want to forgive me, just don't forgive me. Whoever who does, okay. I'm not going to lose sleep over people who hate me. And especially people who hate me for no reason, or people who hate me for reasons I already apologized for. It gets really old and really tiring right now. Anyway, next week, I'll be doing my Go Home podcast from Money in the Bank. Talking about the matches, giving you my predictions, my thoughts. Hope to see you next week.